grow up with the NES, PlayStation, Star Wars, cartoons, and 80s TV? Do you like to think who would win in a fight between Batman and the Master Chief? Comics, games, movies, music, and TV, they're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of geeks. Games, movies, music, and TV, they're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of This Week in Geek. This Week in Geek.
Well, hello, and welcome out to another review show. We were off this week because Birdman was down with the plague real bad, and I was approaching that. I was starting to lose my voice, and I was like feeling the plague coming on, but I was like, I can't do the show. So we ended up taking the Monday after Halloween off. But we did have plenty of reviews ready to go. So I said, all right, if I'm feeling any better by midweek, I'll put together a show that has the reviews that we had initially planned to put in, plus a couple others. And we'll hopefully, fingers crossed, get back to doing the regular program the following week. So in this particular show, there's going to be a bunch of stuff from Birdman that he's been that he has recorded, prior to being ill. Maybe as when this recording comes out, he might have a couple more things ready to go. We'll see how he's feeling, but I'm not exactly sure what he's got. He just said, "Hey, I've got a bunch of stuff. Check the work folders and see what we've got." I have a few things personally myself. I have in my my feeling sickness era, I've gone and played some indie titles for review. We'll just sort of do a bit of a first impressions roundup right here, and then I'll just mention what some of the reviews are going to be that I've already got prepped. I've been playing Simon the Sorcerer Origins on the Nintendo Switch. This is a prequel to Simon the Sorcerer, which was an adventure series on PC back in the 90s that I had briefly seen. I don't think I had ever played the originals. In playing this, I couldn't pinpoint it, but it's your classic adventure style, point and click. Think Sierra, think Lucas Arts, that sort of stuff. It's charming, good art, good voice acting, and just overall audio direction. I think it's a really solid title, and it's a good way to get into it. It works quite well on the Switch. Obviously, it's available on PC or other platforms, but I've had a good time with it so far. I would say I'm about 80% through. Again, bit of a delay because of just overall feeling sick, but pretty good time. As well as I've been playing Unbox the Room. This on PC is what you would think. It's one of those pixel art, soothing meditation kind of games where you're just organizing, clicking, moving things around just to, make things feel zen and good. And what obviously piqued my interest was the art for it had a little cat in a box, which I was like, okay, yeah, let's check that out. And I'd say it's exactly what you'd think. It's good. I've also been playing Neon Inferno on Steam. Now, this is it's sort of a mishmash of genres. Think pixel art, think Gunstar Heroes, Wild Guns, a little bit of Metal Slug in this design. Beat 'em up, destroy 'em up, shoot 'em up across the screen. It has a little bit of everything in there. It's pretty wild. It also runs on pretty low-end hardware. You don't need anything major. It'll run quite well. Very, very good art design, good audio, and most importantly, the controls are tight and fun. So I'm having a great time with that. It's definitely worth checking out if you're into early 90s arcade beat 'em up slash unique genre mashups. So, that's been pretty sweet so far. So that's mostly what I've been playing when it comes to like smaller indie titles. I've got a couple more that I'm sort of on the go with, but I'll mention them as I play more of them so that I'm able to like really determine whether or not, it's something I can speak upon as being good or not. I will have a few other reviews in here. I've been playing a few RPGs, which obviously take up a more substantial amount of my time over the last week or two. But I'll have a couple of reviews from that in here. I might have some individual movies or maybe a roundup of movies. We'll see, depending on how many I've been able to watch. Also, I have some stuff that's come in that is mostly for gift guide consideration, as that's starting to happen. But I will have some first impressions over, if not today, over the next week or two, with some neat computer peripherals, gaming hardware, that sort of fun stuff. So I'm gonna sort of try to bounce back and forth between Birdman reviews and my own. We'll see if there's anything else we can include here, but I'll come back at the end just quickly and tell you what programming is like coming up now that we're past the spooky week where we had a lot of stuff coming out, but we still have a lot of things, ready to go as we get closer and closer to the, our holiday coverage. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to send it over to Birdman, and you're going to hear something that he was reviewing and interested in right now.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here. I'm here to talk to you about something really interesting we got sent for holiday gift guide consideration from our friends over at Nintendo. So Nintendo sent over a review code for the Nintendo Switch 2 title Donkey Kong Bananza. Now, I gotta preface this by saying I am normally not a 3D platformer guy. I'm used to playing games like The Last of Us, Days Gone, Call of Duty, stuff like that. This is typically not my game. So I've been sick with COVID for the last little bit, and I'm literally just recovering now. But while I was sick, I had a real chance to sit down and play this game. And I've got to say, guys, I am so pleasantly surprised by this. I haven't had this much fun with a Donkey Kong Country title since my parents got me Donkey Kong Country in the 90s. Like, Donkey Kong Country games don't normally vibe with me, but this one really did. So the setup is Donkey Kong is a miner, and he's on this place called Inglet Island. Shenanigans happen, and he has to dig down to the planet's core, help his friends along the way, and maybe get something a little bit special at the end of the day, maybe get a wish granted. And the thing that really makes this game so interesting and weird is the game has like these destructible environments, and it's kind of like this explorable sandbox. I've read people would compare this as the spiritual successor to Super Mario Odyssey, which I literally didn't get to like a week and a half ago. So I had no frame of reference for this going in, and I'm really glad that I didn't, because my impressions of this game right now are this is a blast. Like, I'm not bored. You can buy power-ups, there's like a skill tree you can invest in. But here's the thing. You can beat the game even if you don't do that. Like, I'm like, what, really? Like, yeah, you don't need any upgrades. You don't need to invest in anything. You can literally beat the game from start to finish. And from what I can tell, because I watched a few people play this online, is there's not just one way to solve a puzzle. Nintendo's kind of adopted this design philosophy. Well, if it works, go ahead. And that is awesome. Like, literally, if you have the right combination of powers, you could skip entire sections of these incredibly, I don't know if I'd call them annoying puzzles, but if you think there's one way to solve a puzzle, there's probably like 12 different ways to get around it. That is awesome, and it feels so rewarding to just smash through rock, dirt, and whatever else, and just finding all these hidden things. Like, yeah, you can collect fossils, you can get different clothing, and it's not just cosmetic, it does stuff. Like, maybe you can swim faster, maybe you have like a longer range, or you hit harder, you get like extra punch power or whatever. It's fun. Like, this game is stupid fun, and I didn't expect that. And Pauline's back, and I'm really glad to see her get a little bit of time to shine here. Like, And there's now DLC for it too. I didn't get a code for the DLC, so I can't really talk about that in any real depth. I haven't bought it yet. I'm going to wait till I 100% this game before I do it. And that's the really, really cool thing. You don't have to 100% this to get something out of it. And Donkey Kong Country Bonanza, it's such a welcome, fun time. You can take at your own pace. It's gorgeous to look at. I think it's one of the best games on the Switch 2 currently. And in fact, I really don't think it's hyperbole to say this might be one of my games of the year, considering some of the disappointments I've had in some other properties this year, not from Nintendo. I'm looking at you, Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. No, seriously, Donkey Kong Country Bonanza, Donkey Kong Bonanza, sorry, maybe my game of the year. And that is the most unexpected phrase I didn't expect to say. I had fun with this. It's fun. It's inventive. There's so much to explore and do. You're not bored. And I like the fact that it rewards creative play. So yeah, can I recommend Donkey Kong Bonanza? 100%. If you're a Switch 2 owner, this is a must buy without a doubt. Once you start smashing things and getting all that gold and when you start racking up all the bananas to get your cool skill points and you build your Donkey Kong your way to suit your playstyle, you're gonna have a blast. Seriously, this is easily one of the no-brainer recommendations for this year's holiday gift guide, and you can count on me recommending this from us here at ThisWeekInGeek.net.
This is Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake. A new beginning and ending awaits.
Sublime beyond belief.
Our journey has only just begun.
May fortune go with thee, brave hero.
We will bring you to justice.
Now the real fun begins.
You're mine!
This ends now!
Play nicely now.
The timeless adventures that define a genre return. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake. Available now.
Our friends at Square Enix have sent Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake for the PlayStation 5 for us to check out. And I couldn't be happier. I always try to stay very, neutral. I try to go, as objective as possible. But subjectively, I was very excited to play this title. I have been a fan of the HD 2D stuff they've been doing since they started it. Obviously with, I guess, a soft boot with the Octopath games. That was sort of the style. But I can say this. Last year we covered the Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D, and that was the first time I had ever actually played it, but I knew the storyline behind it. For anybody still wondering, without going into major spoilers or anything, the reason that they recommend you play 3 first now in the order is that 3 starts out as a regular different game, but at the end it's sort of revealed that it's a prequel to Dragon Quest 1, or Dragon Warrior 1 as you would have known it in North America growing up, and if you had a Nintendo Power subscription and you got one of the games free. That's what it was called then. But it's connected in that it's, there's parts that take place in the same world, but you'll have to play the games to see how they're connected. And I can say this, I went into playing Dragon Quest 1 a little worried about how much would be able to be kept or changed. And if you're wondering why they would pair, 2 games in one, it's because Dragon Quest 1 on the NES, if you play it and you know what you're doing and you're careful and methodical, you can beat that game in 4 hours. For maybe 4 to 7 hours for an RPG. And that is, it's one of the smallest JRPGs ever. It was one of the first ones, obviously. But if you want to do a quick comparison to something like, let's say, a Final Fantasy 1 is probably 4 times as large, in length as what you can do in the original Dragon Quest. So in going into it, I was intrigued to see what they would do. Well, what they did is they took what was a very essential story, and I will say this, I can spoil, without spoiling the main plot of 2. 2 is a much larger, much more expansive game. But the basic plot of 1 on the NES, and I can say this because it's not spoiling it for this game, is you are the descendant of some mythical hero from the past who, whisper, is the hero from Dragon Quest 3. And you arrive in this kingdom, and the princess is missing. The king is like, you're the descendant of the hero. Could you please save my daughter? And you go and find a cave that shows that you are the descendant of him by, like, in the original game, it's just you read it, and it's proving your bravery to find it. You find a few different items that are required to traverse the world, to then find a key that you can use to unlock a door in a cave, fight a dragon, save the princess, bring her home, get an item from the princess, find 3 pieces of armor, find the I guess the 3 or 4 pieces of armor that are for your ancestor that you can then use to have really good armor, to then build a rainbow bridge using the items you received earlier, to go into the Dragon Lord's castle, and then he gives you the option to join him. If you do, it's game over, or you choose no to beat him. You beat him, and it's the end of the game. Hurrah! It's actually very short overall. Well, what they did with Dragon Quest 1 here is they took it. It still follows the same plot points, but they've added extra NPCs that you interact with, like with fully voiced dialogue. Everything is voiced. Everything in this HG2D series now is like fully voiced in English or Japanese. They add like brand new NPCs to give backstory. The characters have their own backstories and side stories that are happening. You do the same order of events. There's just in between each of these, they've added a lot more flavor when there's like tertiary side quests with characters. So how you obtain certain items, and including like some of your special gear from your ancestor and that, is somewhat tied to side quests that weren't there before. It used to be you just randomly could find them. Now it's tied to doing the quest lines, but they're not overly long quest lines. It still pads it out a little bit, but what it did was it took a game that was very plain and bland initially, very dry, and added a whole lot of personality to it. And, if you're playing it, let's say I played it jumping between different difficulties, because the normal difficulty is fine, but I wanted to see what it would be like. Hard is challenging, and it's more grindy, and I am at a point in my life where I do not want to grind beyond what I have to. And then if you put it down to the easiest setting, you can make it easy, but you can also turn on invincibility mode. And if you do that, again, it was just like in the previous, in Dragon Quest 3, I mentioned it before, you can turn that on if you're playing with kids and you don't want to have a fail state. You want to just be able to beat it. You can get into a part where if you're too under leveled, you might be doing like 0 damage or 1 damage to the enemy, and it might take a while to beat them, but you're never going to be in a situation where you die. Well, you can turn that on or off. There's a bunch of other toggles. There is a graphics mode and a performance mode. I left it on graphics mode. It's a turn-based game, and I don't care if that means that, it's sort of stuck at like 30 FPS or something. It wasn't noticeable to my eye. And turning it on the performance mode wasn't going to make it better for a turn-based game. So I just left it at the default, which is the fidelity mode or graphics mode. And it turned the game, me playing on a bunch of mixed settings, back and forth from what was like I said, between a 4 and like 6 hour game. If you played it fast on the original NES, it turns it into a 12 to maybe 14 hour game. And I'm like, that's pretty darn good. And then, you beat the game, you save it, you move on to Dragon Quest 2, which I had never played. I owned it, and I owned it multiple times. I had only played like the first couple hours, and it was too hard for me as a kid. The grind was just too much for young Alex. But I had owned it, and then I sold it when those games became worth a lot of money. I think I bought it for $5 at a garage sale, and I think I sold it for like 80 or 100 Canadian dollars back then, which is like, probably about $150, $200 now when you consider, inflation and everything. And I was like, okay, I knew that it was a direct sequel. So again, this takes place multi-generations down. The hero of the first game has married the princess, and their progeny and like their children eventually spawned 3 other nations within the world. And what you've done is you've taken the original world of the first game, and that ends up being on the map of the new game basically 1/4, maybe about 1/4 or so, maybe even a little less of the world. And then it expands beyond that. You get to see the rest of the world, which is where the new kingdoms are. And the basic premise is a new threat has come into power, destroys one of the kingdoms of your scions, your children from the original, your great whatever grandchildren. And because of this, they all have to band together, and they're going to try to stop Hargon, the evil high priest, who's worshiping the devil or whatever. And you collect your party for the first time in the series. You now could play as multiple people. There's some more quality of life stuff that's been added that I won't mention because it might spoil it for some of the people that have played previously. But you traverse the world. It's very linear to start, and then the second half of the game, it lets you go and you help a bunch of different people in different areas. You get a boat you can travel in. There's the ability to go underwater and travel underwater. This is, it becomes a much more robust JRPG experience. Pretty amazing for just the second game in the series. Now, some of it obviously has been because of quality of life updates, but there's lots of NPCs. There's, a Colosseum. There is a sort of random chance lottery-based system within it, where you buy a bunch of stuff, or sometimes you find them in chests, but you buy a bunch of stuff and a shopkeeper will give you tickets you can use in the raffles, and those raffles can get you some pretty cool prizes. There's the mini medals, which are in both games, which I still haven't found everything from them. There is some optional super bosses to fight. It's a much more robust title, and I think in my case, again, doing the mixed difficulty stuff, I was like 35 hours in there. So you add that stuff together, you're looking at somewhere between 40 and 50 hours for both games. And that's not to do a completionist run. That's just to do basically, I'd say 90% of what's in the game. So I was very impressed, and I can totally see why they did have to pair it, because you could not really have released Dragon Quest 1 on its own and asked a full retail price for it in today's day and age. You wouldn't have been able to do that. But bundling it with, a game that is a little more robust, but Dragon Quest 2 is a little shorter. I'd say it's about 5 to 10 hours shorter than Dragon Quest 3 is on the whole. But when you pair it with Dragon Quest 1, you end up getting slightly more gameplay value out of it than you do even in the third game. So it was a very smart move what they did. I'm hoping that they end up continuing forward and doing 4, which I played a bit of 4 back in the day, but I never played 5 or 6. So, we'll see how this series ends up continuing, but I've been very impressed. Obviously, the music is fantastic. The gameplay is great. There's all those quality of life updates when it comes to difficulty and settings that way. There's the fully voice acting part of it. The presentation is phenomenal. There's just enough, modern hooks in there to keep you engaged. And it was the biggest feat they had was taking Dragon Quest 1 and modernizing it to a point where it didn't feel like a 40-year-old game. So I'm, very impressed with it that way. I think this is going to be a great Christmas present for people. It's probably going to make our holiday gift guide, so keep watch for that. Very impressed with what Square Enix has done here, and we'll hope to see what they do with the series moving forward.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here. I'm here to talk to you about something interesting from our friends over at Insight Editions. They sent over a copy of Flawless Victory, a visual history of the iconic series Mortal Kombat. So I got to get the Goro-sized elephant out of the room. Well, Shokan-sized, if you prefer. there is some apparent AI upscaling in this, or some kind of an AI enhancement, and that mostly comes from some of the character portraits. It's most noticeable on Melina, Katana, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Sonya in their early portraits. I noticed it specifically with Katana from Mortal Kombat 2, Melina from Mortal Kombat 2, Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, and Sonya for sure. Some of it's a little less egregious than others, but it looks like Katana should be maybe visiting a surgeon to maybe get that looked at. Beyond that, though, the author Ian Flynn put together some really interesting stuff in this book, and I'm going to talk about some of the positives. The section that I went to immediately upon grabbing this book is at the end of this nearly 300-page book, or just a little bit over, is the Other Realms section. I wanted to know what weird stuff are they going to talk about. So they talk about Mortal Kombat 1, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, Defenders of the Realm, Mortal Kombat Conquest, The Legacy Continues, and all the other properties. But the thing I really wanted to know, is there anything on the live-action tour, which there is some, though some of these are screenshots from the YouTube clip that's gone around for years, where I think they're in KTLA or something, and that's fine, whatever. Not as much depth as I would have liked, but you do get like a full-color flyer for the tour. Not as extensive as the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection documentary that was just put out by Digital Eclipse. You can view that in its entirety on YouTube, and it's really worth a watch. But there was stuff here that I felt was a little bit lacking, but I'm glad it got some representation. I'm a huge merch guy. Like, I'm the type of guy who might have the action figure for when they did the Street Fighter G.I. Joes or the Mortal Kombat G.I. Joes. And they have some of that in here. In fact, the thing I found the most interesting is I didn't know there was a Mortal Kombat lunchbox. I can't say I'm totally surprised by that. But there's some kind of like a computer desk that has like the arcade artwork from Mortal Kombat 2 with like Raiden, something. And I never knew that existed. I didn't even know the Mortal Kombat action figures had a line of vehicles. Like you guys know from listening to me over the course of this show since 2007, I'm a toy guy. So that's what I was really looking forward to seeing here. Now, there are some pretty good representations of in-package examples of some of the toys from this series. And again, kind of cool. Was kind of hoping they'd go a little bit more into the music. They obviously talk about I think if I recall correctly, they do talk about the Immortals CD, which was the big thing that got the whole Mortal Kombat techno syndrome thing. But there were also other albums released. There is the soundtracks of Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, Mortal Kombat, More Combat, and the arcade stuff. So I was hoping there'd be a little bit more history with that, but it is what it is. It's not like I expect them to print the liner notes from CDs that are hard to find. But what this book does have is it does show behind-the-scenes artwork and some stuff you've seen in the crypt and everything. I went to the Cyber Ninja stuff, so stuff like Sector, Cyrax, and Smoke, which was really cool. I started looking up my other favorite ninja, Reptile. And again, there's some artwork here I don't think I've seen, but I'm pretty sure this would be available in the crypt and other stuff. I haven't unlocked everything in every Mortal Kombat game. But, I don't know, there's the thing that hangs heavy over this is the community response, and it's hard to not acknowledge that with this. So, what is my recommendation on this book? I gotta say, I did like seeing some of these illustrations, but the reason I enjoy it a lot is because I saw the Digital Eclipse documentary first. And I'm thinking, I know where that's from. I know John Tobias did that because they showed some of that in the documentary. And I thought that was really neat, especially seeing some of the original concept art for Goro and Shang Lao, who would eventually become Shang Tsung. Like, okay, that's cool. I dig that. One of the big questions I do have to ask, though, is with Flawless Victory, how is this going to be different than what Digital Eclipse is offering in their collector's edition for Mortal Kombat, which comes out physically in December? Though I think the collector's edition might be further down the road. I'm not 100% sure, so I'm curious to know what that looks like. However, As it stands, you can go into most major retailers and pick this book up right now. Do I recommend you pick this book up? Well, that's going to depend on how much of a combatant you are. What are you willing to overlook? And how much do you want to see stuff you may have already seen before? I do think on some level this is cool. I really do, and I'm not going to deny that. I don't like what they've done with the original Mortal Kombat portraits, why some characters get them and others don't. Like, why did I not get Sindel's portrait from Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, for example, or something like that? I get you want, like, some of the big characters like Katana and Melina are integral to the franchise, but it doesn't look great, and I don't know why this happened. And again, if I'm wrong, please correct me. I think this book would be worth it if it goes on sale. I do think it's worth that. When this drops below its suggested retail price, I think I saw this in my local retailer for about $60. That's a little high for me. If you could get this at around 30 or so, I think that's a lot more reasonable, personally. I do think there could have been more included in this, but I can also recognize that the Mortal Kombat community is a very passionate one, and they know what they want. And because I'm coming back to the franchise since I last reviewed Mortal Kombat 1, it's been a while, but I'm an old school guy. I used to play Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3 in the arcade, so much so I used to hustle kids in Mortal Kombat 2. Dare I say, I could even call myself a competitive Mortal Kombat 2 player. Some of this feels like a disappointment, but some of this really excites me. The fact that I can have big pictures of Sector and Cyrax and Scorpion, all the different incarnations of Sub-Zero's costume. Here's what Shao Kahn's early designs look like. Here's what Ermac's designs have evolved over time. Here's Cabal, if you ever want to look at that gross guy up close. You can do that. Again, I think it's cool. I hope there will be more in the future if they ever do like an updated version of this in maybe a couple years. Who knows? I have seen that happen before. Mortal Kombat isn't a franchise that ever evolves. So yeah, maybe we'll see more from this, but yeah, as it stands right now, maybe wait for this to go on sale, or maybe ask for it from Santa for Christmas. I'm sure he can make a stopover from the Netherrealm for you. So, Flawless Victory, a visual history of the iconic series Mortal Kombat from Inside Editions, as of right now, gets a wait for a sale if you're gonna pick it up.
Lumio City is waiting, inviting you to compete as a Pokemon trainer in new dynamic battles. When night falls, the best trainers rise. Are you prepared to face the challenge and tackle the mysterious incidents happening in Lumio City? Pokemon Legends ZA, available October 16th on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2.
Alex, the producer here, and I'm continuing on with some of the Nintendo stuff that they sent over for review. Now, these are probably going to be making, I've mentioned this before, our holiday gift guide. So these are going to be first impressions / early reviews, because I previously talked about the Mario Galaxy and Galaxy 2 games. And now I'm checking out Pokemon Legends, ZA, Z to A. In Canada, we would say Z to A or ZA. But I am checking this out on the Switch 2. I know other people have already covered it mostly. We're sort of getting into it now. There's been a lot on the go. I'm, several hours in, I would say, as far as playing, and I'm more impressed than I was going to expect, to be honest. I was not a fan of the performance issues that some previous games have had in the series, especially, the last one. We don't need to go into that because that's not what we're here about. But I can say this. There have been some interesting design choices with this title being basically around its scope and what it is doing, what it isn't doing, what maybe it should be doing. I'm not getting that. I'm just basically here to talk about whether or not it feels fun and if it's going to be something that kids are going to like, because that's ultimately what it is. I am an adult, approaching middle age, still playing Pokemon. I was a super fan in the first and second generation, obviously, because when the first, I got my copy of Pokemon Red when I was like 10 years old, or 11 years old, I think maybe. So I was the perfect age. And then, I had my copy of Gold, my brother had Silver. And beyond that, it was sort of hit or miss with me when it came to playing them, because I sort of outgrew the style of RPG that they were, being very entry level. And then I sort of got sucked back in with the Switch when I was working for Twig here. And I, played Sword and Shield, some of the other ones like Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee. And I played Arceus, and I was impressed with that. Obviously, this is an extension of that style of gameplay, not the flagship main games. And I mean, I can say this: I'm having a pretty good time. If I have any complaints with this, it's that there isn't, the diversity in the biomes. There isn't a whole lot beyond what you see is what you get. It's not as interactive. There is something to be said about Game Freak's design philosophy kind of being stuck 25 years ago, and like they're still like around 2001 when it comes to game design. But this style, going to be the little bit more action oriented, doing something a little different, it does show that they're willing to do some expansion when it comes to gameplay and innovations that way. They still probably need to do some work when it comes to presentation of just the graphical fidelity of their games, but more important is performance wise, this plays a lot better than the last game that was released. So that's the most important part, beyond the fact that it's fun. It is it's undeniable. The presentation visually is some of the better stuff that they've put out before. Gameplay feel wise, it's great. Kids are going to love it. It's obviously going to be a big holiday seller, and you're not going to get any arguments from me on that. So from what I've played so far, my first impressions are that it is a lot better than I, as somebody who's been a pretty big skeptic of the last few releases, have been. I was pretty impressed so far. We'll probably do more coverage later on, maybe do a full review, but as it stands, for my first impressions review, it's good, and I'll say it's going to make our holiday gift guide, so we'll probably have more to talk about when that happens in a few weeks from now. But I'm very happy with what I've played so far, which is a big surprise for me, and if you know me, if you're a listener, you know that I am openly critical when I feel something is either stagnant or I don't like the way something was presented. I'm fully willing to admit that in playing it, I've had a lot more fun than I was expecting. So take that as you will. And I think that, if you're already a fan, you're already clamoring for it. But if you're somebody who's been on the fence like me, or either a lapsed fan or somebody who's been like, I don't know, you know what? I'd say give it a go.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here. I'm here to talk to you about something interesting I got sent from my friends over at Wizards of the Coast. I was given access to the Marvel's Spider-Man Magic the Gathering set. So I was given a booster box, a booster bundle, I believe, a couple of collector's boosters, and all the welcome decks. This set is about 280 plus cards, I want to say. A lot of cool chase cards, a lot of cool legendary, the big pull being obviously the Soul Stone, which is from Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet. I actually did pull a Soul Stone, but not the really cool $10,000 one, because if that was the case, truth be told, I'd probably still be here. But anyway, so I pulled this set, and I gotta say, I didn't get as many hits as I was thinking I was going to. And now, that's not the reason why you buy a set. That's not the way Magic is, but I see there's a very large community of people online who make pretty much a living out of doing that. They pull cards, they do live streams. I'm probably going to do that, probably going forward, actually, just because it's a lot of fun. Now, to talk about my impressions of this set so far, I gotta say, I'm a pretty big Marvel guy. I've always loved Spider-Man. Obviously, with great power comes great responsibility. I'm a big fan of the Rogues Gallery, like, Venom, Carnage, Doc Ock, Chameleon, Vulture, even, characters like Hammerhead, Tombstone, some of the lesser known guys. So in this set, there's a lot of, obviously, Spider-Man. One of the big chases is the Spectacular Spider-Man. There's a bunch of different variations from the Spider Armor, which I was really excited to see. There's the Bombastic Bagman, which is a very big chase card, and it's pretty cool. There's also a lot of references to some of the Spider Women, like Arachnine is one of my favorite Spider Women of all time. I've always loved that look, and yes, I'm even acknowledging Sydney Sweeney and Madam Web as that version of Spider-Woman, but still very cool. In terms of a set, one of the weird things I did, so I decided to do a little bit of on-the-ground research for this, and I went to a local card show asking some local Magic people, what do you think about this? And the big consensus that I got is not a lot of people are talking about this set, outside of like the really big hits, and I've even went down to some local card shops and just asked around to some local players, like, are you buying these? And it doesn't seem like a lot of people are, and I find that especially strange because everybody loves Spider-Man. Like, we're getting Spider-Man Brand New Day next year, and the cartoon is awesome, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man on Disney+, and the comics are great, and that's really cool. Across the Spider-Verse really got people hyped for it in a long time. I mean, Miles Morales is in this set, and Spider-Gwen, awesome card, by the way, and I figured a lot more people would be excited, and it just doesn't seem to be the case. Even on local store shelves, I'm seeing a lot of them around, even collector boosters I'm seeing, which, when I compare this to the first set that I've looked at in a really long time, the Final Fantasy stuff, that stuff flew off shelves. You couldn't find that, whatever. And I'm seeing Spider-Man everywhere, and I don't quite know what to make of that. So, that aside, mechanically, some of these cards, I'm seeing some interesting combinations that people are doing for Commander, which I think is kind of neat, but it seems like this set is not built for that so much. Like, there weren't Commander decks for this. I thought, honestly, there'd be stuff like Fallout had it, I think Assassin's Creed had it, and stuff like that, and I was really expecting there to be Spider-Man-themed decks, if you will. And I didn't see that, and that was honestly a very, very, very big surprise to me. Now, as to whether you should collect this set, I think in some ways it is kind of cool, but I do wish there was more excitement in the community. And again, I'm so new to this. I'm still learning on who to take advice from, but I'm following the advice of my own community, and I'm not seeing a lot of the hype here. And it sucks because I'm a big Spider-Man guy, and I really wanted to get excited for this. Now, pulling some of the cards, I started getting ideas like, okay, could I do a Spider-Gwen and a Morales themed deck? I'm thinking, okay, maybe I've got some ideas here, because there's interesting things with tokens you can do. There's a lot of really cool abilities in this set from what I understand. Am I a Magic expert? No. Would I like to be? Yes. I felt like there was a lot more synergy in the Final Fantasy set than I'm seeing here, and that's something I do understand. One other minor quibble that I have with this is I felt like some of the artwork for certain cards just doesn't pop. Like, there's some really weird, like, I got a lot of, like, here's like a random bagel or something, or here's like a police SWAT team or stuff like that. I'm thinking, okay, that's cool, but where's like my George Stacy? Where's, you know, just little things like that. I don't know. I guess I was expecting maybe a little bit more, and maybe with more Marvel collaborations down the road, I will see that reflected in future Marvel sets. But as of right now, I'm going to say, if you're a Marvel collector, maybe the best way to go about this is buying the singles. Like, look at what the cards do, build your deck around the singles, because I think with the collector stuff, from all the things I've seen, pulling hits is hard, and I'm honestly very surprised I didn't pull one of the super big hits. Honestly, I was really hoping to get Anti-Venom Horrifying Healer, because I'm thinking I could really do some damage with that, and I never got it. Now, I know you can get a version of that with, I want to say, one of the Marvel Legends collaborations they're doing right now, so if you want a cool action figure, you'll get the card, so I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to say Magic the Gathering's Spider-Man set is, if you're a Magic guy, maybe see if you can get a deal on stuff. I can see this staying at around retail, at least from what I've seen in my local communities for this. I wish the excitement was there for this. So unfortunately, this kind of falls on the Parker luck. But hey, who knows what'll happen? Maybe things will change as the community gets these cards more into play and tournaments and all that stuff. Maybe we'll see some really amazing combos comes out. But for now, I'm going to say it's looking like it's going to be a brand new day for Spider-Man. And, well, maybe Mephisto has taken the excitement from the community in exchange for another upcoming Universes set.
Hey y'all, this is David from Loose Cannon and Ram, coming to you with another great book recommendation from our friends over at Titan Books. Unfortunately, we are moving past the spooky season, which I know isn't as exciting for those of us that love the Halloween festivities, but what if I told you this year that the holidays don't have to be fluffy and nice? What if I told you that the ultimate Christmas horror story made popular by an infamous 80s slasher is now being offered up as one of the best film novelizations I've read in years? Well, my friends, you've made it through Halloween, and now try to survive Christmas as Titan Books proudly presents the immortal holiday slasher Silent Night, Deadly Night, the official novelization of the original movie by Armando Munoz. That's right, the film that made parents pick at movie theaters, TV stations pull the ads, and Siskel and Ebert publicly shamed the director, the writer, and producers, is now available to read in a 400-page novel that most horror fans are not ready for. It's Christmas Eve 1971, and 5-year-old Billy Chapman witnesses his parents being brutally murdered by a psychopath in a Santa suit. Billy and his little brother are then left in the care of the Catholic orphanage run by the sadistic Mother Superior. Jumping forward to December of 1984, Billy is now 18 years old and trying to live a normal life, but when he's recruited to play Santa Claus at Ira's Toys, his trauma cannot be contained as Billy snaps and begins a bloody rampage, punishing all those who he deems naughty. Will Billy make his way back to the orphanage to punish Mother Superior? Trust me when I say you will want to read this book and find out. As someone who's been a lifelong fan of Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise, I thought I knew the story and the horrors of Billy's Christmas Eve rampage, but Munoz, at the helm of the Yuletide trip to hell, no one is ready for what is on the pages of this novelization. Not only will you get to experience all the carnage you know and love from the classic film, like Billy's use of antlers for impalement, bullies on sleds losing their heads, the axe-wielding and archery-supplied massacre inside of Ira's Toys, but even more deliciously disturbing and depraved details the film didn't provide, like Grandpa's sadistic behavior inside the hospital, Billy's life outside of St. Mary's, the grim backstory and demise of the Santa Claus psychopath, Sister Margaret's unhealthy obsession with Billy, the massacre of cocaine-driven carolers outside of Nativity, and so much more. Santa's watching, Santa is waiting for you to add some 80s insanity to your holiday season this year, and this is the novelization that will do it. Armando Munoz is clearly a fan of the source material and worked one-on-one with co-executive producers of the film to bring you the ultimate version of Silent Night, Deadly Night we never got until now. Christmas Eve will be the scariest night of the year if you don't grab yourself a copy of the book that the PTA, Catholic Church, and Mothers for Morality would deem uber sleazy. Silent Night, Deadly Night, the official novelization of the original film by Armando Munoz, available now at TitanBooks.com.
Alex, the producer here, just with a very quickie review of Syberia Remastered. Now, Syberia is a game that I think a lot of people have probably seen when it comes to screenshots or box art, but probably haven't, played, or maybe they did, or they're not entirely sure if they remember it or not. But what's funny about it is it is one of the adventure titles from what I call the lost era of adventure titles. Out of the heyday of like the late 80s, early 90s, but also before sort of the Renaissance happened in the indie world in like the last 5 to 10 years, right? So what we had here was a series that, for anybody of the uninitiated, there was I guess a Marazone in 1999. Syberia was 2002, and there's a second, a third, a fourth game, and then there's like remakes and remasters that came out this year. So what's interesting is they've done it says remastered, but it's more like a complete rebuild, because the original game had that, late 90s, early 2000s 3D, world view and aesthetic, especially even like camera angles and that. And what you have now is a like full-blown ground-up remake, much better lighting, much better, well, basically everything. And the whole presentation is just, much higher. Now, what's interesting is, for somebody like myself who had never played it, maybe briefly, touched upon it back in the day, I went in and went completely blind to play it. And what you're playing through is, you're basically playing a lawyer who's tasked with selling and overseeing the sale of a major company and the journey across Europe and Russia to find the brother of the deceased owner of the business. Now, there is stuff you learn about personal life of the main character. There's also, the intrigue and the mysteries involved, and I don't want to spoil anything, just saying that it follows a really good path. It's one of those things where you could see this being adapted and turned into like a TV show or movie, and it just has that, that good adventure style, gameplay, and a big boost to the graphics and lighting and everything. Atmosphere is good, audio is good, controls are good, everything is solid. If you're a fan of adventure titles, especially more modern ones that take the like 3D world stuff, if you've liked perhaps like the Agatha Christie style ones, like the Poirot games or the Sherlock Holmes games that have been released in recent years, that's a similar analog to this, and I think you'll really like it. But this was, again, from that lost era of late 90s, early 2000s of adventure titles, at least I'd say lost in the West, like North America. They were still thriving in Europe and other parts of the world. Just, it's nice to see them come back, and I think Microids has done a good job with, publishing this, and it's much more extensive of a remaster, in quotes, than I was expecting.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here. I'm here to talk to you about one of the latest releases from Modiphius. I'm going to be talking about Star Trek Adventures, the role-playing game, the 23rd Century Campaign Guide. However, before I go any further in this impressions, I do have to mention I am a freelance contributor for Star Trek Adventures by Modiphius. I did contribute stuff for this book into which I was compensated and I was paid for. I did receive a complimentary copy of the book in PDF, and I will be receiving a print copy at some point. So what I'm going to talk about today is my experiences with the book, and you can decide to do with that what you want. This is not necessarily an endorsement. These are just my thoughts of having a chance to put this in play at my table. The 23rd Century is the original series. It's the motion pictures from Star Trek The Motion Picture all the way to Star Trek The Undiscovered Country, and to a lesser extent the little bit of Star Trek Generation that happens just before Kirk dies. Sorry, spoiler for like a 30-year-old movie, right? I think it's interesting. This is the Star Trek that I didn't actually start on. I grew up on TNG, so going back to revisit the movies for this was kind of fun, and just seeing some of the optional new rules where you can do stuff with trauma and casualties on your ship and fatigue, but also new rules for environment options, whether you're on Andoria or Beta Z or Denoib or Tellar Prime, I want to say. It's kind of cool. I love that, and just getting the tone of this time in Star Trek is very unique because you have so many things going on. You've got the conflict with the Klingons, the Romulans, you've got stuff going on with the Gorn, the Tholians. But the book does an interesting way in blending it all together, and some of the other writers contributed some really interesting stuff in there, especially in how it's written. One of the things I really want to draw attention to is actually some of the artwork, and I found that kind of neat. There's stuff done in the 23rd Century that's Lower Decks style, and even in the animated series. Not gonna lie, I thought that was kind of cool. But it's just, in terms of a book that, if you wanted to run something, I would consider this pretty much essential if you wanted to run anything in the 23rd century. If you had this, the technology book, and the exploration guide, which came out earlier this year, you would have a pretty awesome thing. And in my game, I'm actually going to be adapting some of the rules here where it talks about casualties. And I hope my players aren't listening because you've got trouble coming. But again, and even to talk about when this stuff happens, you have to think about what happens during this. The destruction of Praxis, the Whale Probe, V'ger, just all these major galactic shaking events, and that's to say nothing of Genesis, stuff like that. I mean, like, there's so many things in here that you can weave into your game where you are literally exploring the galaxy at the same time as Kirk, Sulu, Chekhov, Uhura, Spock, and Scotty. I'm pretty sure I didn't miss anybody. But yeah, it's like you are out there doing this. And I think for game masters and players, this can, especially if you're an older Star Trek fan, I think having this will really help bring color into your game. And even if you're a newer fan from Strange New Worlds and Discovery, it does bring new stuff in there because that stuff is also talked about as well. So what are my thoughts on this? Like I said, because I'm a contributor, I can't give you a review because that would be, not cool. But as a Star Trek fan, I think it's neat. I do. And for someone who's not had every single episode memorized of the original series or the movies, for example, I think this is a lovely trip down memory lane, and I know I feel enriched as a person who's running a Star Trek Adventures game right now in my private life. This will help me when I start doing time travel stuff. I think it would be kind of neat to bring my players maybe right into the Genesis conflict. Maybe someone steals Genesis, and maybe Spock doesn't die. Right? There's some time travel shenanigans I could do. How might that shape up things going forward, right? Maybe that might change the events of Star Trek 4. Maybe Spock needed to die to connect with the whales in some way. Maybe that changed him over the course. Again, that's the beauty of role-playing and storytelling. You can do whatever you want, but having tools that inform your storytelling decisions, I think it's pretty interesting. So once again, Star Trek Adventures 2nd Edition, the 23rd Century Campaign Guide, is available now from Modiphius. If you want to check out some of the stuff that I wrote in there, I wrote some of the sidebars, like Don't Ask Where It Came From was one of my personal favorite ones that I wrote. I also wrote about a hospital ship during the Klingon Civil War in the early days. Stuff like that. I talked about sabotage with the Romulans. And if you use any of my characters or ideas in your games, that'd be kind of cool to know. So email us feedback at ThisWeekInGeek.net. But check it out. I would really like to hear what your thoughts are. So once again, those are my thoughts. This is not a review. These are just impressions that I have because I didn't write everything. I just wrote a couple pieces of fiction.
Wonder how this goodly creature is now here. How beauteous mankind is, O brave new world that has such people in.
All these years I've been planning my revenge against Avon Bard and all the world.
We don't care about these people's well-being. We just want to get them hooked and sky high, then have them repeat until they up and die.
It's whales.
It's time to fuck shit up.
Such heavenly touches never touched earthly faces.
Social justice warriors, come out to
Suck my balls. These violent delights have violent ends. Here's Crossbow.
This one's been a little while in the making. That's right, the newest Troma feature film directed by Lloyd Kaufman, hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, which was, obviously based on The Tempest from Shakespeare, has been released on, home video, 4K, Ultra Blu-ray, plus regular Blu-ray. A little while ago, actually, this was during Birdman's birthday week. We received it. We ended up watching it at his birthday together, and we're just now, having a chance to go back and watch all the special features and have, just a very quick review of it, because we ended up loving it a lot more than we were expecting. It is lower budget than even previous Troma pictures have been. I know that it was produced, during the pandemic is the best way to describe it, over the course of a while, but they absolutely loaded it with tons of features, as you'd expect most Troma releases to do. I personally haven't seen Lloyd Kaufman's Return to Nukem High 1 and 2. So in between this and the previous one, I hadn't seen anything that he had done since Poultrygeist, which is almost 20 years ago now, actually. And in going back, I can see that there's still the love for the schlock, but also the love for the message behind it. And there is a fair amount of good special effects, actual funny jokes, the right kind of over-the-top characters. Describing the plot, you kind of have to watch it for yourself. I will say this, as far as special features are concerned and how it looks, being on a 4K disc, it's not like this was going to have massive differences when it comes to color depth and even tone mapping or anything like that. As far as I could tell, even though it's on 4K, I didn't see my TV switch into Dolby Atmos mode or anything. It's just a normal release in 4K. But it does have a ton of features. There's the standard opening that you get from Lloyd Kaufman, where he introduces the film, which he's been doing ever since they put out VHS releases in the 80s and 90s. There is producers and cast commentaries over that. There is a bunch of behind-the-scenes features equaling hours of extra content. Theatrical trailers. There is just different little skits and things that they did during the pandemic, things to protest Russia's invasion of Ukraine. There is a full length behind the scenes documentary. It's easily over an hour with other features included there. There is the original songs in the movie highlighted, a bunch of other stuff. The main movie and the introduction and the commentary is on the 4K disc, and on the Blu-ray disc is where you have all the special features. And it's pretty solid. It's weird to say this, but I think Troma is more and more important to film, art, maybe even society now than they've ever been. So I'm just happy to see that Uncle Lloyd is still making movies, and hopefully we see more from him soon. This is not going to be for absolutely everybody. This is not the movie to get you into Troma. This is the movie for Troma fanatics. And I do like that they put this out shortly after the Toxic Avenger remake or reimagining came out, as hopefully this is something that will people will be spurred on to watching after they check out the Toxic Avenger, because I'm just very happy that, in 2025, we're still seeing brand new high quality releases from Troma. Alex, the producer here, with just a quickie review. Our friends over at Namco Bandai sent a review copy of Tales of Xillia. Now, this is a game that I played back on the PS3 when it launched. And what's interesting to me is I didn't remember anything about it. It was one of the mid to later era PS3 titles, and there's obviously Tales of Xillia 2. I had played, these were probably not, they weren't the first Tales games that I played, but they were sort of fairly early on in the games that I had played in the series. and I had a blast when I remember playing it initially. I didn't remember anything about the story except a few key things that, in playing it now, I'm not going to reveal because it's part of like the main plot reveals. But in going back and playing it now, this remastered version has a bunch of quality of life updates. The major ones being that, what they've changed is they've access to the grade shop early. If you know Tales games, when you do things in the game like viewing a lot of skits, beating certain enemies, like little internal achievements will add to the grade, in quotes. And at the end of the game, when you beat it and you do like a new game plus, you can open up the grade menu, and the grade menu allows you to spend those points to do things like double your experience gain, double your money gained, lower or increase, certain damage dealt, difficulty settings, keep certain items, that sort of stuff. It basically, it's like unlocking like new game plus fun stuff. And what they've done is they've given you the ability to access the shop early. Basically, when you start the game, you can turn them on or off. It gives you all the points that you need to basically unlock everything if you choose to. So you can basically, on top of changing the difficulty, like there's, easy, medium, hard, and so on, and nightmare or whatever in the game, you could then modify beyond that by changing things in the grade system as well to tweak it to your own settings. They've added destination icons, which will show you, how far away from a certain task you are, which is very critical, because that is one thing I remembered about the original game, is that you could get lost pretty easy because it's not a very large game. This is something I'll say, if you've only been playing like the most recent Tales games, like the very, very early Tales games that were 2D, were very large and expansive games with like grand things happening. The most recent couple, like Tales of Arise, or even I would say Tales of Graces, which obviously is what came later after this when it came on PS3. The last couple of releases from Tales have been a little grander. This was from a middling era of the franchise where they were medium budget AA games. They weren't really AAA titles. That didn't come till later. In scope, it's a smaller game. There's not a ton of the world you're going to traverse. This was probably will be the more, I would say, divisive aspect. Xillia and Xillia 2 have a smaller scope and a lot less biomes and worlds you traverse. There is a bunch of backtracking back and forth throughout. Lots of cutscenes and lots of cool things happening, obviously. It's just not as grand as I would say, maybe, as some of the other titles in the series. And that was much more noticeable to me now going back and playing it after, close to 15 years or more, 20 years, whatever it is since this came out. And I can say the quality of life stuff they've added has really added to the overall enjoyability, especially I think if you're a newcomer, because you can really customize your play how you want. The destination icons really help, and the enemy encounter toggle. If you just want to go out and like do gathering of resources, you can turn off the enemy encounters toggle, and basically enemies, you'll run right through them. You won't touch them. You won't go into battle. So if you're really trying to like grind up, leveling up your like city stats and stuff, that's how you can do it. Because in this game, you can go to any like shop. Let's say you want to go to an item shop or anything, and you can actually donate money or donate resources that you find in the field to upgrade the level of each shop. And the higher the level, the more items that are available, newer items, better items, as well as things like discounts on items. And that is how you get the you want better weapons, you have to raise the level of the shop before you can purchase them. So having the enemy encounter ability to be turned off really helps if you just want to spend like, put headphones on, listen to some music, spend 10 minutes running around the field back and forth, gathering items as they populate that you can then return, sell them to the shop, upgrade your stuff, move on. So it's a very streamlined game that way. The voice acting is pretty good for the most part. I will say this, going back and watching it since then, the script is pretty rough. This is anime the game in mostly the right ways. But I can say this, that it's not a philosopher's thinking person's RPG. I'll say that. It is pretty straightforward. It sometimes thinks that it's smarter than it is, but it makes up for it with having a pretty fun battle system that was very similar and sort of carried forward in a few titles. If you have played the last few games of the Tales series, you know what I mean. The big one being, if you're somebody who's only new to Tales from the Arise game, the Arise has a very different, more modern battle system, and that was one of the selling features. So just know that this battle system is a little more primitive, and this is sort of what the franchise was kind of known for about a 10-year period with a bunch of different games. So keep that in mind when you play it. I think you'll have a good time. The price point, depending on the country you're in, is pretty good. It's not like a full modern retail, AAA price. It's priced at a AA price, which is pretty much in line with what the game is. That, with all the other features, like the early grade shop access, the destination icons, and the enemy encounters toggle, having that is massive and really adds to the value of it. If you're looking for an RPG to play, I would say honestly in between some of the bigger games that you're going to be playing, this is a great one to go to. And now it's no longer stuck on the PS3. Like I checked, I own this digitally on the PS3. I have. Do I have it digitally? I think I either have it digitally or I might have my case with my disc somewhere. But I remember I still own this, the original version. So but that hardware is aging. It was also one thing to mention here. Originally, it was like 720p, and I think it was 60 FPS in battles, 30 FPS in the field and in cutscenes. And obviously, there's like 30 FPS or 24 frames or 30 FPS fully animated, anime scenes in a few parts. That remains the same here, but the game does play. I don't know if it's internally resolution at that, but it does play at 4K. On the PS5, it plays in 4K. Everything is at 60. I didn't encounter any frame rate drops. So both field and battles and cutscenes that are in-game engine cutscenes are now all playing at 60. So that's a big, big boost here. So it's a pretty good remaster and something that's no longer stuck on the PS3 generation. So I definitely think it's worth checking out for RPG fans.
Hey guys, it's Mike the Birdman. I'm back. And I'm here to talk to you about something. Yes, spooky season may be over, but scary movies never stop. And I'm here to talk about something we got sent from our friends over at Warner Brothers Home Entertainment. I'm talking about a movie that came out earlier this summer, the movie Weapons by director Zach Cregger. This is a very strange movie. First time I've ever seen anything by this director. I think he did the movie Barbarian, if I'm not mistaken. And I went into this mostly because I thought the trailers looked interesting. Late one night, mysteriously, an entire class of children just goes missing, with the exception of their teacher and one other kid. And obviously the town is up in arms. They want answers. And it's not as simple as you may think. This movie has an amazing cast. Thanos is in it. Han Solo's in it. Wong from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And Julie Garner leads it as the teacher. And it's an amazingly effective yet weird movie. But I will say this about this. The ending will take you by surprise. Do not look it up. But I will say this. Watch this movie. It's really good. After you've absorbed it and seen it through once, go back and watch the ending. And I'm just going to say this. Benny Hill, you're welcome. Now, that being said, let's continue on. Like I said, movie's fantastic. Absolutely worth a watch. Cannot recommend it enough. Now, where this falls short as a disc is I think special features should be longer than stuff you can find on YouTube. I'm not saying I'm expecting everybody to have the same level as the Superman disc, which came out from Warner Brothers earlier this year, which had a very extensive making up and a lot of special features on it. This one, they all feel like stuff you'd get off an EPK, and that just may come down to how much money did they have to spend putting together the disc. Maybe they didn't expect this to do as well. I don't know. I really feel certain movies, especially horror movies, benefit from director and cast commentary. There's the kid in this, the main child. I would love to hear what he thinks about this stuff. But then again, I guess there's some stuff he can't really comment on, but with the advent of technology, you can only bring him in to talk about his parts or whatever. But to hear what Zach might say, I'd be very curious, because during the special features, he talks about, I came up with this scene in the shower. I was inspired. I didn't know what the story was until I started writing. And that's very much my creative process as well. I get an idea and I just kind of go and see where it happens when the keyboard stops. Weapons is unlike anything I've ever seen before. And like I said, it's a really good time. It's just a really weak physical disc. However, on the Blu-ray disc copy that I got, you also get a digital code, which again, nice to have, nice to be able to stream this anywhere. So is Weapons worth owning? At this current time, I'm going to say in this release, probably not. Only because I think the special features are weak. The movie itself is fantastic. Now, if there is an edition that comes out later, then yes, if you can get this in the most stunning definition ever with a bunch of special features, like I said, I would really push for a deep making of, and I would absolutely, dare I say, demand a director's commentary. I want to peek inside this guy's head and see what is kind of rolling around in there, because I've got some questions. But overall, Weapons is definitely worth streaming. If you can get this for Christmas, hey, free stuff is free stuff. So yeah, that's going to be my recommendation for Weapons on Blu-ray with a digital code. Big thanks to Warner Brothers for sending a copy of this over. And, well, you're not going to see that ending coming, I assure you.
Fujifilm, our friends at Fujifilm, have sent over a really cool device for us to check out and review, and that is the Instax Mini Link 3, specifically Super Mario Edition. Now, we've talked about their products in the past, when it comes to their instant cameras, as well as the Instax, Mini Links before, which is the portable printer where you can connect, your phone to it, send pictures, and print on the go. It's portable, it's compact, you put it away. Now, what's interesting is this is the first time that I've seen them partner up with Nintendo, and what you get is you get the Instax Mini Link 3 printer with a Mario coin block themed protective silicone case that you put around it, which is, it's just something kind of neat if you're looking to get something for kids or to print with. It almost harkens back to me thinking about like the Game Boy printer or something back in the day. Now obviously this isn't made by Nintendo themselves, but the fact that they partnered with them, giving them the license and the silicone cover. There's also advertisements showing that you can obviously connect your Switch to your phone. So the idea is you'd use your Switch or Switch 2 to like print pictures from your phone, but you could send those pictures from your screenshots from the games over to your phone, then crop them, do whatever you want, print them up, and end up saving your memories that way. And you can get a bunch of different Instax photo prints that you can get different borders for them. Sometimes they have like fancier stock paper for it. There's a bunch of different ones you can get, and the idea is you then can just print directly. And it's really cool because I have not seen a company go this route before with partnering with Nintendo for this kind of product. And as we've covered their previous Instax Mini Links in the past, it's just a solid device, and now you've got a really cool silicone protector for it. And basically on the one side it says Super Mario. It's got Mario's face with the orangey yellow background, golden color, which is for the block. And if you turn it on the opposite side, you see the question mark block, and you see Mario's hand fist going up to hit the block, and then the idea is he hits it and out prints the picture. Really neat stuff. If you're looking for something a little different for the gamer when it comes to like the holidays, this might be something to consider if they've already got the Fujifilm stuff in the past. But also, because it's a portable printer, you don't need to have specifically their products to use. You could just use your smartphone, connect to it via their app and Bluetooth, and print it that way. It just might be something cool for the gamer out there that, you try to think, well, I don't know what they want. They like games, but they might buy the games for themselves. This is something cool to add to their collection that they could actually find useful. And you know what? It's got the silicone cover. It's great, but if they want to make it a little more professional, they don't want to take it on the go, and maybe they're worried about having their Mario thing out there, you just take the cover off, and you can use the printer as is, or you throw it on there for like some neat little flair. Our friends at Turtle Beach sent over a gaming mouse for us to check out. This is something that I have not covered from them before. We've always covered headsets and game controllers. Well, they sent over the Burst 2 Pro, which is their high-performance, lightweight, wireless esports mouse. And oh boy, it is pretty lightweight, but also very responsive. I have large man hands, and it doesn't feel too small or too big. It's sort of the right medium in size when it comes to, for me at least. And I can say this: it's from first look, it's got pretty much what you would expect and want. The standard DPI switch. The difference is what they're advertising is that it's got 100 million clicks that you can do before it wears out. I don't know how you would test that. 100 million clicks. But that being said, that shows confidence in this. The big feature for me, even taking away any other marketing speak, it's like it has NVIDIA reflex support. The idea is as low latency as you could possibly get from, a wireless mouse. But the biggest feature for me, because this is going to be something that sells it beyond the gaming space of just being a high performance, really good quality mouse, which is what it is that it's got up to 150 hours of game time, when you're using it, before the batteries die. And that, my friends, is a very big deal. Now, when I've used, mice in the past, even, I would say business class or high quality, you're generally looking at, I get somewhere between 40 and 50 hours of straight use if it's in like a high performance mode. So the fact that, this gets up to 150 hours at 1 kilohertz polling rate. Now, polling rate is when how fast it's communicating and how frequently it's communicating between the the host and the I guess client. So in this case, 1 kilohertz is better than what you get from like entry level or like regular business mice. It's already a gaming class speed. Now, if you go up to 8 kilohertz, which is significantly faster and lower latency, it will go down to about 40 hours. But that is way, way above anything you see with pretty much any wireless mouse out there. It also includes like grip tape, low friction skates on the bottom, which I can say that's pretty confidently that it's very well designed. As far as the tracking of it, it feels accurate. The DPS button DPS switch is good and easy to use. It's just a solid, pretty portable mouse that I would say is good in most cases. In my case, it's a black mouse. It matches any aesthetic. You can get it for work and nobody has to know it's a gaming mouse. And I'd say it's going to be a good gift if you're getting somebody, a new setup for Christmas or something like that. So maybe keep an eye out. We'll probably include it in our holiday gift guide as well, once I've had a little more time to really, daily drive it and use it. But I'm very satisfied with the Turtle Beach Burst 2 Pro so far.
Those magnificent bastards! Color me kooky, but something very odd is going on around here. You're not allowed to talk anymore.
And that's going to do it for the show this week. What do we have coming up? Well, as of this recording, we will be having an Earth versus Soup on Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man, and then next week's episode is going to be Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. So continuing on with the I guess the Universal Monsters mashup with Abbott and Costello that they've covered pretty much. I think they're covering all of them over the next little bit. We also have an episode of Future Imperfect coming on Judge Dredd and the Dredd, remake or new adaptation that happened in 2012, as well as fairly soon, not sure exactly which day yet, but we're going to be having an episode of Loose Cannon on the Goofy movies, both cartoon movies from the 90s. So that's what's on the go. We're actually recording a bunch of new stuff too, but that's what's looking like it's coming up over the next, let's say, week or so. Unless, things shift around. I know Birdman is working on some other interesting projects. We've got a few that we've got on the go. We're continuing on with Future Imperfect, recording new stuff for revisits of the motion pictures. In the series, we're going to do 2 shots of each, Star Trek 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and so on. And the plan is we're going to be releasing those likely during the holiday break when we're off. So we have something pretty much every week or every other week where we're talking Trek or talking some form of science fiction. We've actually been recording some really interesting things lately. We've got some random but weird and interesting concepts. We're going to do some movie pairings that have similar themes, but maybe some of them are loosely themed and some of them are very tightly themed together. So we will see with that. I know that Birdman's also got a bunch of stuff on the go that he's doing for Loose Cannon that I'm not a part of, other than helping with the back end editing and that sort of stuff. So we'll see that coming up soon, but that is going to do it right now for this week. We'll be back likely on Monday, as long as everybody's feeling 100% better, right here at ThisWeekInGeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.